Okay, well, welcome to the Fuck Therapy podcast. It has been approximately 6 months and we're back with Chanelle Greene. Chanelle, how are you?
I'm doing amazing. Better than, the best I've ever been, I think.
That is absolutely fantastic. So Chanelle and I did a podcast about 6 months ago and it was a awesome episode. It was also the first time that we had actually met and talked and so forth, and we navigated our way through a whole host of topics and subjects and explored Chanelle's story. You know, to recap your story, Chanelle, just run us through briefly your story, your journey, and then we're going to start really digging into the transformation.
Okay. Well, when we first got together, I think I was probably not even 6 months from the time that I walked away from OnlyFans, which was the big transition that I was going through at the time. Now it's been, I don't know if that time adds up. I don't know if my math is right, but it's been about 1.5 years.
Yeah.
Or maybe less, maybe more like a year. And I guess that's a bit about what's been it's just been a huge change for me more recently. And my story, I mean, I'm from Arizona. I've recently moved to Utah. I grew up LDS. I come from a family of all girls. I've moved around a lot. I've always been a hard worker. I'm ambitious. Always been on this journey of wanting to become and do better. And then more recently with this big transition from OnlyFans, I've also started a healing journey involved getting sober and walking away from substance abuse or just kind of overcoming substance abuse, but walking away from drugs and alcohol. I guess that's, there's a little bit of a recap for now, but
yeah. Listen, it's been an absolute privilege to travel this journey with you because very much the woman that I spoke to last time, although you had traveled ground, you've come from a past where you have had to navigate a whole host of obstacles that led you to a particular lifestyle. And the beautiful thing that we discovered is that you were living a lifestyle, and so much of the lifestyle can really pull you into identity. So substance abuse and OnlyFans and pornography and encounters with men, all those sorts of things. And we look at it and go, that then determines a particular person. And it's very easy to look at that and say, this is who I am. But the reality was, it wasn't who you were at all.
When you just asked that, it was like, I had so much resistance with even talking about like bringing any of that up because in my mind, I'm like, okay, wait, I think this is what people want to hear. Like, do I talk about the OnlyFans and the substance abuse? But more so, I'm like, wait, I even heard in myself, I'm like, I'm resilient. I'm always trying to be better, like more character traits of who I actually am and less interest in being like, okay, this is my story. I overcame substance abuse and all those things. And although they're admirable and there's so much wisdom that I've gained from those things, like I've been able to learn working with you, is that it's not who I am.
Yeah. And the person that you are is so polar opposite.
You're right.
So polar opposite. So I'm going to start a little bit on a high note where I look at it and you go, this week, you said you've had the best week ever. Mm-hmm. Tell me why.
Yeah.
Tell me how that feels, what it smells like, what it tastes like.
Yeah. What's beautiful about it is it wasn't something external that happened. It's been the best week because of how I feel internally.
Beautiful.
And I'm just like, I just felt like I'm glowing. Like I have so much energy because I'm taking great care of myself. I look forward to taking care of myself. I'm excited every single morning. I think it's a combination of feeling like I'm absolutely fulfilling the purpose that God has placed in my heart.
Yeah.
I have a book on the horizon. Every single day I get to wake up and help people. So I'm in service daily. And maybe it's a mix of external things, but they're fulfilling internal values that I have. Like I value service, I value purpose, I value love and connection. And I'm just check. Every single day I'm doing all the things that make me feel full, fulfilled and alive. And I think it's just a matter of how much gratitude I have.
Yeah.
I think I used to live in so much fear. So it's also a matter of surrendering day in and day out and being in practice of that for the last 6 months since growing in a relationship with God. So anytime something starts to feel heavy, I'm like, here, I'm not meant to hold here. Like that's what I do in my mind.
I love it. There's no point like digging a hole, leaving the shovel leaning up against a tree and digging with your hands, is there? It's like when you have the tools, apply the tools to your life, and it makes life so much easier.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good analogy. Exactly.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And in this journey, what do you think has been your number one obstacle? And then what do you think is the number one thing that you've been able to build within you to overcome that obstacle?
Would you say just in the last 6 months of us working together?
Yeah.
Or anything more specific?
No, over that last 6 months journey.
Okay. Yes, I know. Control.
Explain that.
Letting fear drive me to want to control the future, control the way people perceive me, control all these things. They're out of my control, outside of how I respond to things. And so that's why I think what's helped me the most is learning surrender, and it's the opposite of control.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think I have the level of peace and joy, because it's so new to me and it's so refreshing, because I've never surrendered my life on a daily basis like I am now.
Yeah.
Because it was out of fear that I would try to control everything. So I'm like, even with the relationship, whatever happened with that, or in the future, whatever it is, or how my future is going to look in general, it's not in my control. And to just be in the present moment and enjoy right now.
Yeah.
That's all I've got. Yeah. So I can do my best to show up in the ways that will give me the best outcome for the future. But again, that comes back to how I'm showing up in every moment.
Yeah. I think a big
present moment.
Yeah. A big part of that is to recognize those 3 time periods. You have the past, the present, and the future. The past is the one that gets 90%, if not 95% of everyone's attention. The present is usually neglected, and the future is worried about.
Yeah.
So we have a negative force on one side and a negative force on the other side. And the only thing and the only period of time that we can utilize is the time that we kind of ignore. And we utilize that time thinking about the other 2 timelines. And it's one of those things where, again, when you're in it, it's all you know. It's not until you learn some new skills and have some different reference points and actually work out and learn how to be in the present and what living in the present means that you can actually start doing it. Because it's one of the things where so many people feel so out of control that they want control back in their life. And you've answered the question by saying it's surrendering that gave me the control that I looked for. So help people navigate that.
Just that. So you said in surrendering, it was the control. Well, because through control, I think I was trying to relieve myself of discomfort.
Yeah.
Like I'm so afraid of an outcome. I'm trying to control it. And in surrendering, I think it's also a combination of, regardless of what happens, I know I'm going to be okay. I've surrendered to the idea that the future needs to look a certain way.
Yeah.
I've surrendered to the idea that I know what's best for me, and that I know God knows what's best for me, and He's in control, so I don't need to worry.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just placing control in the hands of my higher power, where it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
I was going to say person, but He's not.
Yeah.
I think He's a person. So
yeah.
God.
And I think also it's stepping into self. It's walking that journey of self that enables you to surrender, because typically what we're trying to control is the uncontrollable. The uncontrollable is the perceptions, the perspectives, the opinions, the validations of everyone else in this world, particularly those that you want and that you basically surrender to giving them validation to validate you. I'm so
glad that you brought that up.
Yep.
Yeah, because I was just talking to a client about, I got one of the questions I asked to kind of navigate where they're at as far as self-acceptance goes is, when you walk into a room of complete strangers, what's going through your head?
Yeah.
And I want to know, are they worried about what other people are thinking? Are they in the present moment? Are they just observe, what's going on?
Yeah.
Because I used to be there where I'd walk in and I'm worried, okay, I need to get everyone's approval. I need to show up a certain way and whatever. I think a big part of, and I told them, the deeper you accept yourself, you just don't care.
Yeah.
And not only that, I think for me, this season that we've been working together as well, I've emotionally, like, I have detached from almost everything I thought I might not be able to live without.
Yep.
I've had to detach from and lose.
Yep.
And when you go through your hardest, like I've had you, Jamie, but like I've mentioned, my relationship with God has grown so much, and you go through things with just you and God. For me, at least, I understand that community connection is important, but I'm at a point where I'm like, there's nothing I can't get through.
Yeah.
There's nothing. And so my biggest fear used to be abandonment. And so I needed people. I was so afraid of losing people. I would people please, and I would betray who I really am, or betray myself.
Powerful.
And now I'm like, I want to just show up in truth, even though I still struggle a little bit with guilt as far as that goes. And I'm working on it.
Yeah.
But if what I say and my truth bothers you, or I lose you over that, then you're not meant to be in my life anyway.
100%.
So it's a way of filtering out who's I align with and who I don't. And if we don't align, then you're just not meant to, be on this journey with me or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
100%.
But I'm going to be fine. I'm all right with or without you.
And it's interesting. You're navigating truth, and truth is so powerful. And you said you're working on it.
Right.
And I'll challenge that, because I don't think you are. I think you've already worked on it. Now you're working through it.
What's the difference?
The difference between working on it and working through it is, before you were trying to understand the concepts of truth. Where does it sit? What does it mean? How
okay.
Is it okay? How do I navigate it, and so forth? Where you've now surrendered to truth and go, truth is simply truth. My truth is simply my truth. And not everyone is going to fall in line with my truth. That's okay, because now you are actually speaking your truth. You're representing your truth. You're now working through it. It's not that it's completely comfortable. It's not that you don't do it without some of the, residual emotions of the past, but you're going straight through it now. You're going, I know truth represents me. I know truth serves me, because when I look reflectively on life's most significant events, and I look at any time that I didn't speak truth, that I didn't represent myself, where I let truth, where I parked truth, pushed it to the side, it never served me. It never gave me a good outcome.
Yeah. What would you say, and I think this will be really good for someone who's listening and has a hard time speaking about something, about their truth, that's, maybe they've been abused in some way out of fear that they're going to hurt someone else that could possibly hear what would you say to them? And how do you navigate, the guilt that might come from that?
Sure.
And that can be all kinds of different abuses, right? Like it be sexual abuse, narcissistic abuse in a relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the first things I do is understand the difference between values and character. So truthfulness is a value. Truthfulness is also a character trait. So if truthfulness is both a value and a character trait, what is the difference between a value and a character? Values are words. Values are the things that we talk about. Values are the things that we aspire to be, want to be, or they're the things that we weaponize and that we sell someone that we want them to believe about us. I am a truthful person. I value truth. Do you value truth? Aren't we aligned? You're guilty. Character is where they drop the ball. Do they speak truth? Are they healed enough, open enough, vulnerable enough? Are they separated enough from ego to be able to receive truth? Particularly when truth isn't necessarily glowing for them?
I would say, you sparked something for me there. I would say, if your truth is uncomfortable for someone else, what a great opportunity for them to look at what parts of themselves they still need to heal.
100%.
Because I told my sister, I used this example with her. I said, Nicole, if you got online and you posted a whole blog about how my sister had an OnlyFans and how much it hurt me to see her betray herself for 4 years straight, I would look at that and I'd probably repost it and say, man, it sucks I put my sister through this.
Yeah.
I'm glad I don't do it anymore. But I'm so proud that she can talk about her feelings and what that was like for her.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful. That's beautiful, because now you're receiving information through the perception and the comprehension of hearing versus filtering it through triggers.
Right. Whereas before I would all kinds of stuff. There's all kinds of stuff on social media of people being angry towards women like me who are involved in that industry, and they'll post things that I remember seeing stuff like that and it being so triggering, where now I'm like, it's true.
Yeah, it's true.
True.
Yeah, 100%. Truth is the shortcut to anyone's triggers.
Yeah.
Because they don't hear with their ears and comprehend and open up a space of mindfulness to digest the information that's coming towards them. They literally throw a trigger, jumps forward, grabs that information, and then based on where that trigger came from, they then respond from the trigger.
Yep.
It's the story.
So it's telling. Go ahead.
No, you go.
I was just going to say, so it kind of goes like back to the question, people who are maybe afraid to speak their own truth because of how other people will respond. It's also telling, it's like, exactly, if the quickest way to know where someone still needs to heal or whatever it might be, like, that's a sure way to do it. And instead of internalizing their reaction, know that has everything to do with them. It's a projection.
Correct. You see, and when we go to speak truth, we're speaking truth through our triggers. So let me work through that a little bit. The truth isn't necessarily through the trigger. It's how do we communicate it? So I'm going to tell you something, and I know you don't want my answer. Most toxic relationships, the abusive person grooms you to a position where you know they don't want to receive truth right now. And you know if you speak up right now, you're going to get into a fight, it's going to escalate, blah, 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 right? So they've created an environment that is unsafe for you to speak your truth. So when you go to when your intuition speaks up, represents you, represents your self-worth, and then you go to communicate that truth, bang. Before you even do so, you're triggered by past events. The past events are saying, Chanelle, remember, if you speak your truth right now, look at all these other occasions, look at the responses to these other occasions. Listen, should you really speak up, or how about you just shut your mouth right now? And that's the voice that often gets listened to. But you see, truth is just truth. And if the person that we're communicating it to deserves space, time in our life, well, then we should be able to articulate that truth. Yeah, no different to you. If I ask you a question, go, Chanelle, what's the time?
I love this one. Right. It's approximately 5:30.
Right. It's 5:30. Beautiful. Yeah. You know, how did that make you feel answering that in truth?
Nothing.
Correct. Because it was simply truth.
Right.
And I didn't trigger anything because it's just the time. That's how we should answer every question, because it's on the other person. What we try and do is we filter it through the triggers, and now we try and manage the response of the other person. We even know their response is negative. We know their response is bad. We know their response is horrific. We know their response is manipulative or coercive or abusive, and we allow that to be the case. Yeah. So by surrendering, to that outcome and saying, listen, I'm just going to speak my truth, and where it lands is where it lands. Now, I do want to preface this with a trigger warning.
Okay.
And not so much a trigger warning, but a disclaimer where I say speak your truth. The disclaimer is definitely in a position of someone that is physically or sexually unsafe. We use a very different strategy for that. We need to address the fact that you are physically and sexually unsafe, if that is the case, right? Yeah. So speaking your truth with peaceful confidence is designed for when you can literally speak. Now, they might yell, scream, argue, but you're not in physical or sexual harm, and that's when we do it. If you're in physical and sexual harm, we need to separate you from that anyway. Yeah. So that's a separate...
that's important.
Very important.
I definitely understand that. So what would you say, and I'm going to kind of, if it's okay, switch gears.
100%.
Because I'd love to talk about some things that I think would be beneficial for the male listeners.
Yeah, let's do it.
For some men. But men that struggle with, when we speak our truth, internalizing that and taking it personal. Because I know that that's something that a lot of men struggle with. A woman expressing she wants more intimacy, and he's just, he feels so defeated, and that says so much about who he is as a person. He can't get away from taking everything personal when she tries to express her feelings and speak her truth.
Yeah. So the number one thing I say to men, and this is to everyone, but specifically men, because I think we as men grapple with different things to what women grapple with. Yes, we can cross over and grapple all with the same things, but this is something in particular. Men grapple with vulnerability, they grapple with ego. So if something like that is said, we don't hear the message that's been communicated by our partner, which is our failing, because our inability to step into vulnerability and our inability to manage ego gets in the way. So we're not listening from your perspective. We're listening through our triggers. What did you just say about me? And it's like, this is the message to men. Understand, women are doing their best to communicate a message about how they're experiencing things, their perspective, and the way they're living this reality. And they're doing their best to articulate that. So our job as men should be to try and understand, to comprehend exactly what is being said from their perspective. It's park your own needs, wants, and desires at this particular point in time. Get out of competition with your partner. Like she's just about to win an argument. She's just about to prove that I'm wrong and I don't feel wronged. I feel she's wrong. All of this is happening because of these triggered justifications. No. Stop, pause, listen. She's not your competitor. She's your partner. And therefore, you should understand your intent before getting into this discussion. And your intent should be, how do I make this woman feel safe, supported, accomplished, and valued in this moment? But you don't think that. You're thinking about, how do I win? How do I not be wrong? How do I not look bad? How do I not be the one to blame?
How do they just even escape that discomfort that brings up for them?
Correct. It's like
constant triggers that haven't been looked at or healed, the insecurities, all that's attached to that in their past that they're still carrying, I guess.
Correct. It's like grow, learn the art, and there's a lot of things behind this to get to this level.
Mm-hmm.
But it's learn to park all of that for now. You'll have your turn. You can talk to things, but when you have the ability to go, stop. Now, your partner may not be the best communicator. You may have created an environment where she doesn't feel safe. And you might turn around and say, I'd never hit her. It's like, that's not about, she may not feel emotionally safe or intellectually safe around you because you might be really good at talking and she might have lost a few battles in the past. And in order for her to come forward, it's taken a lot of courage. And then simply by going into defense, you prove her right. You prove she should have been scared to come forward. And what I'm saying is we need to learn to park all that. Men need to create a space and recognize, regardless of our intent, regardless that we would never lay a hand on a woman, we are always bigger and stronger. And I'm going to say always as a 90%. I know there's an exception to the rule. Right. But we are always bigger and stronger. And women are hardwired, so are men, to survive. So if she's in an environment with someone, regardless of your opinion of yourself, if you don't make her feel safe, supported, accomplished, and valued, if you don't make her feel safe physically and sexually, which you may do, but emotionally and intellectually safe, if you don't make her feel safe to speak her truth, if you don't make her feel safe to express herself, to articulate, to navigate through her emotions, then it's the environment you're creating as the man, that she's grappling with the communication to maybe articulate her point correctly.
Yeah. I read this quote recently that really stood out to me. It was the best way, or it was something like, women are the most powerful tool you'll have to, or like we're a reflection of the man they really are. Basically something along the lines. Like if you want to know what kind of character you have as a man, a woman is going to be the most powerful reflection you have of that.
100%.
It's something like that.
100%. You're always going to find in your partner the things that you desire and that you're missing. And then she's going to bring that to the table and you're going to be confronted by it. But instead of being confronted, stand up. It's why it's that discussion we have. I say that there's a saying, behind every good man, there's a good woman. That's not a cute saying. People go, oh, it's just a saying. You go, try understand meaning behind it. Why do they say behind every good man, there's a good woman? I go, because men aren't inherently good. That doesn't mean we're inherently bad, because I don't believe we're inherently bad. What I'm saying is we're not inherently good. Men are inherently egotistical. Men are inherently aggressive. Men are inherently... Grab 10,000 men and put them on an island, come back 5 years later. What do you think you'll find? It's not going to be...
I don't know, dude. Not sure. Do I want to know?
We're going to revert to biggest and strongest rules and wins.
Okay, yeah.
Right? That's just what's going to happen. So I'm not saying men are bad. That's not what I'm saying at all. I think we are raised in environments and we have every intent to be good. We're just not sure how to navigate some of the softer, some of the other sides that we need in order to be good. We then get in a relationship. If you choose and you get into a relationship with a good woman, that's what makes a good man. We separate from our mother. Our mother cannot do it. She will do the groundwork. Your father will do the groundwork. But to fully transition, the only woman that's going to get deep enough into us is our partner. And she is going to bring out that amazing quality to make us complete. That is fact. It's reality. Without my wife, I wouldn't be a tenth of the man that I am now. Not a hope in hell. Why? Because she questioned me, because she led by example, because she taught me this other side of the world that I wasn't good at. Yeah. I'm a natural born leader. I'm a natural born, strong, dominant type of man. I've been raised in martial arts and country life and all this stereotypical masculine stuff. And to really grow it to the next level, I needed a good woman.
Yeah.
I was a really good dad to my daughter. I needed to learn to be a good dad to my son. Why? Because protecting women was natural and easy for me as this masculine man. Then my son came along and I'm expecting my 2-year-old son to be a man.
Yeah.
Well, he was a little bit more reserved in the early days, and I grappled with that. I really did. And I needed my wife to pull me into line to say, hey, and she did it with respect and integrity, and she led by example. And my son is the most manly, respectful, has huge integrity, amazing young man now. But I needed that. I needed to be a better husband. I needed a wife that would pull me up. I needed a wife to say, hey, hang on a minute. But she did it with love and respect.
Yeah.
Because I was raised with love and respect, I could then receive. And here's the other thing. The man I am today wasn't the man I was when I was 25, when I was 30, when I was 35, when I was 40. I've continually learnt and matured and grown as we've gone along. So I'm now turning 53 this year. And I'm not saying this is the man that was when I was 20. Of course not. Yeah. But what I have learned is these things. And if you open up to your wife, if you don't compete against your wife and you allow her to be the most empowered version of her, that's how you will step into the best version of you.
Right. And then as women, and especially in like what I've experienced, safety, like you've mentioned before, is so important. The second I felt, in relationships I've been in before, how I was when I entered and then what I was when I left were two completely different versions, because I got in the habit of betraying myself and disconnecting from myself through those relationships. Yeah. Relationships that didn't feel safe, that didn't even reach the bare minimum things. Safety. You tell me, Jamie, what are all the things like? I mean, you've already mentioned them, but I know safety for me is a big one now because...
Well, safety was huge, but if you look at the 4 foundational principles, feeling safe, supported, accomplished, and valued, right?
Yeah, that's what it was.
One of your biggest fears and what you had experienced in your past was abandonment.
Right.
Right? So the question is, how as a young child, how as a young lady, how as a young woman did you process in the worst times of your life abandonment? What did you tell yourself that meant to you? See, trauma isn't the event. Trauma is the shame-based story of the event. It's how we psychologically process the event.
Yeah. Well, I was and that's where the narrative began for me, is I wasn't worthy enough for my dad to, even though obviously it was out of his hands, to stick around, to actually follow through on his word and take us camping, after he passed from cancer. But he made these promises and he didn't fulfill them. So it's like now, keeping your word, to me, that's everything.
100%.
And now I want to be in a place where, regardless as how a relationship can go, it doesn't say anything about my self-worth and my value.
No.
Whereas before, oh my gosh, I mean, and I already know how far I've come with this, because before I was in such low self-worth and would internalize abandonment so much, the point where it was dark.
Yeah.
I didn't want to live at a certain point. And that's when I went to 3 months of treatment, because over and over, I just kept feeling abandoned. And what that was telling me at the time was, I'm not important. I'm not lovable. I'm all these things that would just circle in my head. Whereas now it's so awesome to literally feel how much I've transformed.
Yeah.
If, even silly things, simple things like someone doesn't get back to me. Okay. Doesn't have anything to do with me.
Correct.
Like, someone ignores someone wants to, it doesn't mean that I don't feel,
of course,
that I don't get disappointed or let down, but it doesn't change overall how I feel about myself and what I know I deserve.
And that's so powerful.
Yeah, and I think it's a matter of surrender again, because it's like, not this one, okay, next, or, whatever. Yeah. If it's not this one, it's something better. Whether it's an opportunity, whether it's a man, whether it's a friendship,
yep,
then it's just...
Yeah, 100%. It's when we recognize that self-worth doesn't sit in the intellect. So, because quite often we process, if you're asked the question, where are you sitting with your self-worth? How do you feel about yourself? How do you love yourself? And all those things. Intellectually is the way we answer it. We go to our intellect. We know how to answer a question, and that's the best that we do with it. But the reality is self-worth sits in the subconscious. It's automatic responses, reactions to life that come from the subconscious that actually truly reflect self-worth. Self-worth is not an opinion. Mm-hmm. It's in our DNA. It's in our programming. So right. When you've grappled with rejection or, abandonment and these sorts of things, and you're trying to navigate that and you process that to mean these certain things, it then plays out in your life. You start dating a partner, and human reaction when you come from that place says, I'm attracted to this person. Wow, I like this person. Right at the very beginning. What is the very next response? The very next response is, I want them to like me. And now we go into this spiral, particularly when we've suffered from things like abandonment and that type of thing, to go, I want them to like me. From our subconscious, we master the art of finding out all the things that they need in order for them to like us, and we become all those things. Hence, we enter the relationship one person, we leave another.
Yeah, that kind of takes me back to my example of like when someone like that I use with my clients, when you walk into a room, are you immediately hoping that, everyone likes you, or are you walking in the room and thinking, I just want to like me? Because I hope that's the frame of mind I want to be in. And it'll be interesting to see what I experience when I do get in a relationship again. But I want to like me in that relationship.
100%.
I just want to like me. And if I like who I am, that's really telling, actually, because if I start to feel myself showing up differently in a way that I don't like, then that's probably not the right relationship, or there's maybe things I need to look at. But most likely it's if I think for me, that's maybe a good way to navigate it. But
100%. It's about, it's that question, within relationship, we say a whole lot of things that we have no reference to, and we say a whole lot of things that we probably should talk about before we say them. So there's a term that's used to, take a relationship from one level to the other. Mm-hmm. And that's I love you, right? A 1-letter word, a 4-letter word, followed by a 3-letter word. I love you. And that changes everything, right? And I go, okay, whoa, here's my challenge. Next time someone says I love you, go, listen, that sounds beautiful, and I really appreciate you expressing how you feel. Do you mind if we just dig into it a little bit to ensure that we're on the same page?
Right.
So I understand the word I, so we can park that. But when you say love, what do you mean by love? What does that mean to you, so I know how to receive it better?
Yeah. This is such an interesting topic, because since the breakup, I've really looked at what love means, and everyone has a different way of defining it. One of my favorites is just that it's an action word, and I'll let you complete your thoughts on this, but that's one of my favorite things. It's an action.
100%.
So are you prepared to back up what you've just told me through action?
Correct. Yeah, 100%. I look at the foundations. I always go back to the foundational principles and go, love is a combination of a whole host of things, most of it coming from our subconscious. It's why a guy walks in the room, right? You don't intellectually think he's hot. You don't look at him and intellectually go, there's no reaction at the moment. That plus that plus that. Oh, he's hot. A guy walks in the room and you're kind of like, oh, la, la.
Yeah.
Right? It comes from the subconscious.
Oh, I see. It's almost like, could you say it's almost like you feel it?
100%. Hence why it's so important for your self-worth that sits in the subconscious to be right first.
Yeah.
right? So then,
that's the difference from before
correct,
and
the
after,
filter.
I don't feel like a piece of crap.
Correct.
You know,
You're looking
someone
at it.
makes me feel abandoned. I don't feel anything now.
Self-love. Imagine self-love being a representation of water. And I say to you, right, here's a 2 litre, 1 gallon, whatever you want to call it, 4 litre bottle of water. Drink it. And you go, right, you finish it, right, in 5 minutes. I go, here's another one. I want you to go as far as you can, right? And then you're kind of halfway through the next thing. I go, Jamie, I can't get any more water in. I want you to take another mouthful. Then I want you to take another. Then you're like, Jamie, my tonsils are floating. I cannot have any more water. I'm like, beautiful. Now I want to refill that bottle and sit it in front of you. So at any point in time, you can grab from it. That's self-worth in abundance. Now, old mate walks through the door and he goes, hey, good looking, want some water? And you're kind of like, I'm good.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, hey, good look, well, that's not going to work. No, he can't throw like the love bombing techniques and tactics to make you feel a particular way because you already feel that within yourself.
I'm not love deprived, which is, I think, a really accurate way to explain how I felt most of my life. I would take scraps.
Correct. Because you were lacking.
Deprived. I think, and my personal belief is it is so important to have such a strong relationship with self and your higher power, because that's where I derive a lot myself, like love and abundance from.
Absolutely.
And it's within, he's within. So I think that's why it's so insanely important to become whole in that manner. So exactly like what you said. I don't need to go home and sleep with this guy to feel good about myself or feel loved. That's not love. I can go home and pray and feel, and I'm not going to wake up feeling like crap about myself.
Correct. So you can now have that conversation with this guy, and unless he brings value, there's nothing. So he needs to break another barrier to say, listen, all this other superficial garbage that really you should have yourself that I'm trying to dump on you now, well, none of it's relevant because you've got an abundance already. So now for me to do it, I need to grab your attention or your intellect or I've got to get you at another deeper level. Now we're starting to scratch the surface of where love, or the origin of love. I've got to get you somewhere else. Okay, I can see you're a handsome guy. Lots of handsome guys out there. I'm a beautiful girl. So handsome's lovely, but really that's not going to be the connection here.
I know
You can stand over there and be my eye candy, dumbass, but that's it, right? You want to come into my inner circle, you're going to have to bring something to the table.
Man, I've had so many. I'm getting more and more before. It's also amazing and feels so good in such short amount of time. I think even from like 4 months post breakup to just these last, really just this last month, where I'm no longer where it hurts to think of being with someone else or where I can't even wrap my head around that. Now I'm actually so excited.
Yeah.
And not in a way that's like, and I'm not eager. I'm just excited because I know what I bring to the table.
Yeah.
And the kind of guy that God's going to have to prepare for me. I'm like, he's going to be incredible.
Oh, yeah. See, amen to that. That's beautiful because we should be excited for life. We should be excited for the net. It's just that you go, I'm not in any need.
No.
Right?
No.
Bring value, make me laugh, take me, like grab my intellect, connect with me emotionally, connect with me spiritually, and all of a sudden it develops. Then I start feeling safe. Yeah. And as I start exploring safety, as I speak my truth, as I represent myself, as I come to you as me and me only and unapologetically me, I start feeling supported. I start feeling accomplished. I start feeling value. And as we grow, that's where the love develops. And then it goes into the unexplainable, which is beautiful.
Yeah. I can't wait to just be in a relationship and not feel like I'm about to have a panic attack.
Yeah.
Like that's terrible. Like that's been my experience though.
And that's where people get caught. People get caught with familiar. Even unsafe can be familiar. Familiar can be safe.
It's my pattern because in most of my childhood, I was full of anxiety because there was no safety in the home. My stepdad was volatile. It was unpredictable. So that's I am used to that. That's my familiar hell.
Yeah.
And I'm also, my familiar hell is addiction. So no wonder I ended up at almost every single guy I dated, whether I knew it right away or not, was addicted to something.
Because it's familiar. It triggers your cortisol response. It's familiar to how you felt with all other deep relationships in your life.
They're disconnected.
There it is.
Not emotionally intelligent.
Yep.
They hide, they lie. It's check, check, check. All the things that I experienced growing up.
Yep.
And I'm so grateful I realized that now.
And then it triggers the abandonment, which triggers, what do I need to make them like me? And even though I have self-worth and I'll control it this time, 3 months in.
My entire life, it was trying to earn love from my mom and even my stepdad to feel important. I mean, that's a lot of the reason that I ended up doing OnlyFans, which sounds really twisted. But I thought, if I have enough money, maybe they'll respect me, because comments were made that I'm sure my mom doesn't even remember. You know, things that put me down financially and whatnot. And those things stuck with me. And those were driving factors to fuel that whole, you know, all the reasons for wanting to betray myself even more, to obtain money, try to earn my value, that now I realize is I'm inherently valuable. I'm not ever going to not be valuable.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's one of those things where we're fighting so much for that validation, where the validation comes from you, right?
Yeah,
because otherwise you're subject to my opinion. Well, how am I feeling today? I'm feeling bad. What is my background? Listen, I've got a pretty shitty background. I'm a pretty insecure man. And therefore, I see a woman like you and I'm like, man, what a woman, but not a chance. I'm going to step up to your value. So strategy number one, I'm going to give you some trust, because if I know a woman like you, if I give you a bit of trust, you're going to feel validated, and bang, I'm going to get you, right?
Oh, it makes me angry, 'cause I see it so clear now. And what am I going to do? I'm going to play games. And I don't even realize a lot of the time that I am playing games, but it's the only way that I can obtain love, because I'm so love deprived too. Yeah. So I'll keep playing these games. And you know what's so cool is now I'm like, gross. Yeah. Because I can see it. I can see it for what it is, gross. You want to ignore a text. You want to take too long to respond. You want to make me feel anxious, gross. Yeah. Beautiful.
Beautiful. Love it. Because it is gross. It's gross. And it's one of those things where you go, it's so far from the thing that we're searching for, which is truth.
It's not, you're not a man.
Correct.
You're not a man.
Correct. I look at men in relationships, and, it is argued that men should be the leader of the relationship. And I go, fine, I'm happy with that, right? Not because I'm a man, but because I'm up for the challenge. I'm up for the accountability. I'm up for the responsibility. So my definition of leadership is to serve. So yes, men should be there to serve their family, to serve their wife, to serve their children, to serve their household. It's to serve.
Another such a simple way to deter whether or not a man is in it for the right. Does he show up and is he in need? Is he trying to take? Because that's the fastest way that he's not a man. Yep. He's not going to show up and lead because he's trying to take from you.
Correct.
That's feminine. Is that not feminine?
Listen.
He's in his femininity. He's trying to.
He's in insecurity. He's in toxicity. He's see, to me, feminine is so powerful, so strong. There is a reason women give birth and men don't.
Yeah.
Because the population would be one. If it was up to men, right? So there's a reason God created women to give birth. It's another thing I look at and go, men and women live two very, very different lives. Men have a lot more choice than women. The narrative that social media has put out there misses the point. 90% of the questions asked, trying to divide men and women, are just narcissistic questions that shouldn't be answered. They're questions that are irrelevant. The question, what value does a woman bring a man? Why in this era would a man risk everything it's a narcissistic question that deserves zero answer.
An exact video, and it was the woman that literally explained, if a man ever asks you, what do you bring to the table? Leave. Because
it's not what does
his femininity is probably more feminine than you are.
Correct. It's one of those things where you go, it's what does Chanelle and Steve bring together?
Right.
Not what does a woman mean? What does a man mean? There's good men, there's shit men, there's strong men, there's weak men, there's healed men, there's unhealed men. Same with, so don't give me these big headings that mean nothing.
Okay, yeah.
Right? But the masculine, to lead, is to serve. You have to be in your masculine to be comfortable, to drop your ego, to be very vulnerable, to serve. So it's service. You go, and a woman should submit to her man. Beautiful. Love it. I think it's incredible. What is submission? Submission isn't the interpretation that we think it is. It's not tapping. It's not saying I'm less than. It's not saying, oh, the Almighty. That's not submission. Submission is giving permission. Submission is saying, you make me feel safe, supported, accomplished, valued, free, evolved, and has alignment to purpose. And therefore, I am going to submit in the way that I'm going to step fully into my feminine.
And shine even
because I don't need to step into my masculine because you've got the masculine.
Yeah. And so many, I know there's a lot of women who probably need to do some healing in this area that become really offended by that, right?
Yeah.
Or feeling like I got a comment the other day when I was talking about how, chasing men is you stepping into your masculinity where we're meant to you attract.
Correct.
You attract, and men they're meant to pursue integrity and out of respect. And
it's part of the filtering process.
And she's like, so what did you think women used to do? We used to paint our nails while they were hunting and gathering. And I'm like, oh, no. Don't put words. I'm like, first of all, and it's like, don't diminish our value.
Don't diminish.
It was because and it's just interesting, I think, because when I hear you, when I'm listening to you, I'm like, I can't wait to feel so safe because I've been I'm 30, I'm still single. I've lived alone for the last 10 years. Obviously, I'm forced a little bit more into a masculine role because I'm having to do everything.
Yep.
And I can't wait to be in a partnership where I get to share some of the responsibility, but also feel protected. Like, I'm not just protecting myself. I've been protecting myself since I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
And I get to have someone step into my life and look out for me. That's beautiful. And I have no problem with that. Please.
Correct.
I can't wait.
I think there's beautiful roles within a relationship. Now, people say that, in order to lead, therefore, I control, all the important things and you do all the warm and fluffy things. That's not what it means at all. You may be better than me at maths, at figures, at budgeting, at saving, at finance, at administration, and you might control the finances. Why? Because that's a good decision for the relationship. But as a leader, I still need to develop those skills. I can't just dump it on you, resign, and then use you every time money's tight as the problem.
Right, yeah, okay.
It's a team thing. I need to be financially, so I need to learn these things. I'm not saying that I might be a brilliant cook. My love language, which if I look at my daughter's boyfriend, his love language is to cook. He loves to cook for my daughter. Loves it. Loves to do her meal prep. That's part of his love language. But, is it a woman's role to cook? Of course it's not. It's not what we're talking about. Right. This is not, this stereotypical bullshit isn't what we're talking about. We're talking about character. We're talking about core fundamentals. Yeah. We're talking about serving your partner, submitting. In other words, those that submit. So I'm telling you, I feel safe. I feel comfortable. I feel beautiful to be in my feminine and I can hold this space. It's coming together in unity. It's looking for connection, not competition. It's looking for teamwork. Now we're starting to really dig into love. Love is loving. The very things that I love the most will always be the things that frustrate me on the other side.
Yeah. Oh, I love this. I love this topic. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, look at you. Classic example. You go, beautiful woman. Men love beautiful women. They get in relationships with beautiful women. And then you choose to go out with the girls and it's like, why are you looking so beautiful when you go out? I'm too insecure to handle that. Now I'm going to dump my insecurity on you. So my love is this. It's also the thing I can't handle. Truth. I love the fact you're a truthful. Listen, don't go pointing that truth gun at me.
Just everyone else.
Just everyone else. And don't necessarily expect me to be as forthcoming as you.
Yeah.
And you're going, that's the problem.
That's really important for me and in a relationship that I'm going to be in is my future man, he's going to love that I'm wise, that I'm compassionate, I'm full of purpose, I have such a strong intuition.
Yep.
All of these things. On the other side of that is
he's going to have to grow up.
I went through really dark times that gave me all of the knowledge and wisdom that I have today. And that's my favorite part of myself. I wouldn't change anything. And you better not want to change anything either.
Correct.
If you do, then it's not right.
Well,
but that's like, you can't selectively choose the light parts of somebody.
Correct. We discussed earlier on the I love you. What do you mean by that? We worked out the I. Okay, that's you saying it. All right, let's get on the same page what love means. Okay, now what does you mean? Right? Is it you?
Everything.
Is it you or you but?
Yeah.
When you say you love me, is it me or me but?
Right.
Because if there's a but, bring it forward. Tell me, I love you, but let's have that discussion right now. And I'm going to tell you to get stuffed.
Yeah, get lost.
You don't love me, but, right?
Yeah, I've been with people that I felt I loved. And it's hard for me to wrap my head around. Like I've been told by men that they've loved me. And I still just think it was different from what I experienced. Because I think back to when I've loved and there's just nothing that would have changed that. Outside of being treated like crap.
Correct.
I mean that in the way that was like anything that had to do with, I don't know, past or whatever, because I when I initially went in, I was falling in love with who they were up until I realized, until you treat me like crap, obviously I can't accept that. But there's more there. But what I'm trying to say is like when I love completely and deeply. And that's a part of that's how I am.
And this is why it's so important to say, what do you mean by love? Because you will find a lot of men, absolutely, I believe every man that you've had a longer term relationship with absolutely did love you as they said they did, right? But their interpretation of love was different to yours. So yours lined up with your character. So when you said, I love you, you went, I love you in every sense of the word. In fact, you almost went unconditional, which is something that we've had to work through. Unconditional, right?
Yeah, and I'm sorry, just really quick before you go on, because I used the word conditional earlier, and I do realize that love isn't, for humans, it's not unconditional. Only God can give. Would you agree with that?
I go, unconditional love is it's a romantic thing someone said that people have taken on as the way we live our bullshit. My wife, who I've been with for nearly 30 years, if she decides to be disrespectful to me, rude to me, starts talking with other men, sleeping with other men, no, that I can tell you now, that love will be brought back.
Yeah, I see.
It's not unconditional. It's conditional in the sense that you go, love me as freely as you choose to do so, but I'm going to manage my boundaries. And if you step outside of those boundaries, I'm sorry, this level of love won't be there.
I think we always have to, because first I have to love myself. And the second that I feel like I'm having to betray myself, it comes back to that. That's my first priority. If I'm betraying myself,
100%.
I have to protect
100%.
myself.
I ask two questions typically in any coaching environment, no matter what your goal is. I ask these questions. Number one's the easy question. What are you prepared to do to achieve your goal? Oh, I'll do anything. You'll do anything. Yep, I'll do anything. Beautiful. Well, I'm a little cool at the moment. So how about we light you on fire so I can be warm?
Mm-hmm. That's strong.
Right?
That's powerful.
So in other words, give me the list of things that you're not prepared to do to achieve your goal.
Good, yeah.
So what am I not prepared to do in order? I know how I want to make my wife feel. So to start with, I'm very conscious and I narrow it to three things. I want her to feel loved. I know what that means. I want her to feel desirable, not desired, because I don't want her to feel judged by me. And I want her to feel desirable in every aspect of the word. And I want her to feel free to be the woman she wants to be, free to speak her truth, free to dress it, free to not come home if that's what she chose. Because the only woman I want coming home to me is a free woman, a woman that actually chooses me every single day. So I know how I want my wife to feel. So I know that in advance. Beautiful. So now, in order for my wife to feel loved, desirable, and free, in this argument at the moment, what am I doing to achieve that goal? And what am I not prepared to do to achieve that goal? I am not prepared to sacrifice my self-worth. my character, my values. If she needs me
Yeah.
to lie in order for this love to work, it's not going to happen. If she needs me to lay down my integrity, it's not going to happen.
There's something I posted, and it was like, a woman can fix the crown on her king, but not at the sacrifice of her own crown.
Correct.
Something like that. And I just love it.
Well, it's one of the things I say to men all the time. You know, they go, the problem is I put my wife on a pillar. And I go, what was the problem of your wife putting her on a, why is that a problem, putting her on a pillar?
Right.
And she's gone, well, she thought she was all this. I've gone, oh, I see the problem. I've gone, where did you place yourself? Because you're pointing to the top of this pillar as if she's above you.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't want to be above you. She wants you up there with her.
Oh man, did she ever? I can relate to that.
Right?
Totally. Did she ever? That's all I've ever, in every single relationship I've been in, I wanted to see them, and maybe it was a reflection or a projection in a good way of again, my character, but I'd see the inner child, I'd see their full potential, I'd only see the good things, and that got me in trouble. And I so badly wanted them to see themselves the way I saw them.
Correct.
But then that was also not accepting the reality and maybe being in love with potential.
Correct.
And that's not fair to me or that person.
No, but it's the type of thing. It's like, you want to put your wife on a 100% on a pedestal. Love it. Get up there with her.
Yeah.
Get up. She wants you there. It's this saying, men say, give a woman an inch, she'll take a mile, right? And I'm like, give a woman an inch, she'll take a mile. Do you mind if I reframe it? If there's a mile to give, why are you only giving her an inch? Why are you limiting her to an inch if there was actually a mile there?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, so many men need to hear this.
Right? There's point number one. If there's a mile to give, work out a way to give her two, right? Yeah. And then manage your boundaries and lead with service. Yeah. Because she'll respect that. Yeah. Don't, like, I look at her go, if you don't manage your boundaries, she will step into her masculine, because a woman will never feel safe with a man that doesn't manage his boundaries.
Yeah, I think one of, my biggest takeaways from this last relationship too is one thing that's really important to me is, does he keep his word to himself?
Correct.
Has he established trust with himself? If a man hasn't even done that, how am I meant to trust that he's going to keep his word to me?
How do the foundational principle? How do I make my wife feel safe? Right. Mm-hmm. Well, I have to servant leader, right? Which means I have to live by example. By example. I don't have to tell her words, because women have learnt that words don't mean anything. So throw your words in the bin. Now, recognize it's not that she doesn't need to hear them, but she needs to see the action. The action needs to be louder than the words. The action needs to be more consistent than the words. You can say the word once, act 10 times.
Yes.
Right? This is what builds it. If I want my wife to feel, I've got to create that environment. I have to create an environment. She will never, ever feel safe. She'll never surrender if I don't create that environment. I've got to live by example. It's why I look at it and go, I'm training for this bodybuilding competition. And one of the things that people are like, Jamie, why are you going this far at this age? And I've gone 2 reasons, or 3. One, for me, for mindset. I love the challenge. 2, I want my kids, my youngest is 20, but I want them to have an adult reference as opposed to the kid reference of dad being Superman, right? Mm. I want the adult reference where they can go, oh, I get this as an adult. What it takes to do the things that you say you're going to do, to face challenges, to be self-disciplined, to sacrifice what needs to be consistent, to have integrity. I want them to see it, touch it, smell it, taste it as adults. And I want my wife to see and feel and touch the man that is doing all the actions in the background. Why? Because that's what makes her feel safe, supported, accomplished. That's what makes her have respect for me. That's what develops integrity. And if I do all that while making sure I'm very present in the relationship, because I look at it and go, you want to be the leader? Okay, awesome, nice title. Take accountability and responsibility for everything in it. If a company goes broke, whose fault is it? CEO. If the relationship goes pear-shaped, whose fault is it? The leader. Okay, step up, pal. Stop blaming the other person. Recognize, be present within the relationship. And if things are going south, be present enough to recognize it immediately and address it immediately. Small problems are easy to fix.
Yeah.
The number one complaint by men is that she blindsided me.
Oh, no.
We're in a relationship for so long and she just ended it. She blindsided. No, mate. You all that tells me is you weren't present. You weren't
Yeah,
listening.
your things were swept under the rug. People
You
became
weren't
passive.
addressing the problems. You weren't.
For me, I'm so intuitive. I can feel the second you walk into the room, I can feel whatever energy you're coming in with.
Yeah.
And to be with someone who's not emotionally aware or tries to just sweep moments like that under the rug, it's like, I mean, I'm at a place too where I'm not going to try to dissect, and it's your responsibility to come to me and tell me what's going on if you're upset. But that just creates a whole host of problems, because now we're just, okay, just keep sweeping these emotions, or not talking about the problems that create the emotions. And then a month down the road, there's an explosion or whatever it is. But it's because we become passive. And oh man. And as you're talking about being an example for your kids, this sense of compassion comes up for me for people who haven't had that example. Yeah. And I just think of all the men. I mean, and myself, I didn't have an example of a healthy mom or dad. And on the flip side, I think there's so much that I've learned not having that. I'm even stronger because of it, which is beautiful. But I've definitely had to navigate and learn for myself. And then I think of the men who have grown up without strong father figure, an example. And then I just have to say, well, then there's, what a great opportunity to be having this conversation to help people realize that there are resources out there.
Yeah, 100%.
That there's coaches like you to be able to offer that guidance. Because I mean, when I got sober and really started taking myself seriously and healing, that was what was so beneficial to me, was becoming vulnerable, getting connected, leaning on community, finding coaches, finding mentors. You've been, for me, in 6 months, I've transformed more than I have the last 3 years just working with you.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful. It's beautiful. And it's a credit to you.
Yeah.
It's a credit to you. It's one of those things where, as coaches, and you help people as well, you can talk as much as you want. You can provide as much information. You can do the work, all that. If they're not prepared to do the hard work, if they're not prepared to receive the information, if they're not prepared to go to the depths required to create significant transformation, it's all futile. And the fact that I have given you some significantly difficult challenges, some significantly challenging things for you to go and touch, to front up, to explore, to take a deep dive on, and you haven't backed down from a single challenge. You've grabbed every little bit of information by the bull by the horns. You've implemented it into your life. You've challenged it, and it's an absolute credit to you for this transformation. It's 100% you. This is your journey. This is your story. And you, my friend, are amazing.
Thank you.
Now, I think this is a beautiful place to end this episode. A few reasons. One, I need to jump into my next session because we've got miles over time. Two, because we've got so much more to talk about. Yeah. So let's just...
You like that little suave...
Yeah.
I timed that perfectly, too. I think I just sensed. But yeah, that was perfect. Wow, that was a really, really good call, I think, at least.
Yeah, no, absolutely beautiful.